Welcome to The Art of Being Unstoppable, the podcast where we will go beyond the ordinary and embrace the extraordinary. Be part of down-to-earth, no BS conversations where we will explore hot topics on love and money, relationships and business, beauty, and who we get to be with all that shit in between. With our insights and your actions, let's be unstoppable together. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. And this one is for the coaches, consultants, service providers that are in our community. And the reason why we wanted to talk about this topic today, it's about being the buyer, not the seller on enrollment calls, and in business in general, because there's a lot of people that don't know, how do I find my people? How do I say no to people that aren't aligned to what I want? And there's a lot of confusion around this. So we want to break down the confusion today. And for those of you that aren't coaches and consultants, you might want to listen to, because I think you'll be able to relate this to your own life in your relationships. Be the buyer, not the seller in relationships.
Your friendships, in all kinds of relationships. Doesn't even have to be your, intimate relationships, but even in any relationship that you're having.
Absolutely. And, I train people on how to leverage and use LinkedIn. And I like to say that there's 4 pieces to the puzzle. It's positioning yourself online, it's creating content, it's outreach, which is building relationships with people and expanding your network. And I spend a lot of time in the DMs, but I also spend a lot of time looking at other people's content, contributing to other people's content. And recently I found somebody who was in my network who was doing the same thing that I was doing. And she was all about the mindset around your business and how to actually step into owning your fees, charging your worth, talking about selling $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 sales, making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 months. And all of her content was around, like, if you don't already have this, there's a block getting in your way. Like, let's remove the blocks. So I'm engaging with her content. She's really badass. I'm really liking her vibe, and she's straight and great, kind of a reflection of myself. So one day I get a DM from her and I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, it's great to kind of get to know her, even though we're in the same niche. We're both LinkedIn experts and doing our thing. So she reaches out to me and she says, hey, Tina, how's your LinkedIn strategy? And I said, oh, it's actually really great. And she said, are you making money every day off your content? And I said, well, no, I'm not making money every day off my content, but I do have a system that generates revenue, builds business. And she's like, that's not what I asked you. If you're not closing $50,000 sales, $50,000 every month, why? With your credibility, why aren't you hitting those numbers? And this was all through text, right? So there's an interpretation there in her language, her tone, but this was basically asking me, are you hitting $50,000 a month sales? I'm like, not consistently. I have in the past. I said I've closed $30,000 sales and served over 3,000 coaches. To which she replied, clearly you're living in scarcity and lack, feeling the need to have to tell me the results that you're producing. So basically what she was asking me and what I was sharing, I right away recognized, oh man, she's triggered by my success, but she's so unconscious. She doesn't see that she's reflecting this mirror of, like, what she doesn't have is what she's telling people that they should be creating, but there's a disconnect here. And so when she said, clearly you're in scarcity and lack, my response to her was, I'm not sure I agree, but I'm going to look within and see if there is a place, if something is coming from scarcity and lack, I'll look within. And I said, and, I'm curious, are you open to an insight? Because I think maybe I see something that would make a difference in your business. To which she then replied, clearly this conversation is low vibe. I don't like your energy. And then she went off and said, like, and I'm gonna maintain my energy right now and end this conversation. It's like, oh man, this is really interesting, because we started this podcast off with, like, be the buyer, not the seller. And she was trying to sell me, but at the same time she was coming from a place like she couldn't see, she wasn't conscious. And it helped me see like that person, you know, she may have been somebody that could be a guide in a sense. I don't know. I like the idea of closing 100K months and hitting $1 million. But on that call, I wasn't going to try and sell her anything. I didn't want to be sold to, but I was like, I want to buy into humans. I want to buy into who they are. And if there is such a disconnect like that, like, would I want somebody like that on my team that's coming from a place of judgment or coming from a place of whatever it is? And I think as new coaches, sometimes we think we have to take everybody on as a client and we got to like help them see our point of view. And yes, you should be hitting these numbers. It's like, okay, but where's that coming from? Is it coming from like, are we aligned as human beings? Do I want you in my corner? Do you want me in your corner? And I think we forget that when we are wanting to create a sale or make money, we forget about what does that money mean? That exchange of value means you're committing to a relationship with somebody. And if you're not aligned with who they're being, how they show up, are they fearful? Are they on the fence? Are they committed? Do they hold themselves back? Are they judgmental? That's important because
Oh,
we, you know, Vicky, we've taken on clients where I've had this intuition. I'm like, this is going to be a nightmare. Like,
yeah.
this is going to be a disaster. And it was every single time because when you're being a seller, you're like, oh, I need the money. I'm just going to take this client on, even though there is an alignment. But when we do that, we delay the process. And what
Yeah.
I mean by that is actually creating the clients that light you up, that make you feel good, that take on your coaching, even in friendships, relationships,
It's true. When you're talking about this, I'm just, yes, yeah, I get it. And, because you've been coaching for what, 8 years?
yeah, almost 9 years.
8 years, almost 9 years. And I'm just beginning. I've been working with you for the last 3 years. And now, and we still work together, but I also do my own thing. And, it's hard to know who you want to help because I remember you asked me, so who in the beginning, well, who do you want to help? And I said, women. And you said, okay, but what women? And because you have to speak to your person when you're online. That's how this works. You have to speak to who you want to hear you. And I don't want to work with everybody and I can't help everyone. We can't. It's impossible for one person and it's impossible for a one size fits all anything.
Yeah.
Every person is an individual and every individual is going to attract different individuals. So your style of coaching and my style of coaching can be similar in some ways, but are very different in many ways. But I can recognize that. So if I have a potential client on a call and I say, I am going in as a buyer. Is this going to be a fit? And if it is going to be a fit, that's wonderful. If we're both on the same page, if it's going to be a fit. But if it isn't, I can guarantee you I have someone in my head that will fit. Mm-hmm. And that's good because that's what a good coach does. I don't need everybody. It doesn't mean that. You don't need everybody. You need the ones that are going to fit your way of being, your person, your core values, all of that wrapped into one. That's who we help, is who is like a magnet, right, to us. And I think it's important, not just for coaches, but in relationships. I have a lot of friends, like different, groups of friends. And when you and I first started becoming close, it ruffled people's feathers. Because now Tina, and it ruffled some people's feathers.
Story of my life, Vicky.
Yeah, and I probably did for you as well, right? Because we became close friends quick.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. But that's what you have to ask yourself. Okay, if you and I are aligned, and then the other people in my life, I'm not asking you to be aligned with you. I don't need Tina to be aligned with everyone in my life. And I don't need everyone in my life to be aligned with Tina. It's no different in coaching. It's no different in business. We have to be aligned with who we want to be in our corner and who we want to be in their corner. We have to be aligned with those people. And it has to work. Like I remember feeling very intimidated when I first began. I couldn't do lives. I couldn't go on. Oh my God, what? Or I can't do anything. But it's like, and then I came to the realization, why not?
Mm-hmm.
If I can help, if my story can help one person, if I talk about the death of my parents and how it changed my life, and I am here on the other side of that now, that helped one person,
Yeah.
then I did my job. Because
Yeah.
that's all I want to do is support people. And you don't have to work with me. And if you choose not to work with me, that's okay. You don't even have to like me. And that's okay too.
So the question becomes like people say, well, how do I find my people? How do I find my circle? How do I find clients? How do I find those people that I align with? And I say, when you have an online business, your content, you being you, like not the watered down version of you, the bold, the unconstrained, whoever you are, without playing nice in the sandbox, will pull your people forward. See, because what I did was I was just so kind and so nice and just like making sure everybody liked me
Yeah.
and speaking to everyone. I wasn't speaking to my ideal person. I started attracting people that wanted me to just be kind to them and tell them what they want to hear and keep them in their comfort zone. But then when they worked with me, they're like, whoa, you are like how I see you online and how you are as a coach. Like I wasn't expecting this. Like I thought like you were nice, but you're a little bit like cutthroat. And not that I'm okay, guys, I'm not mean. If you ever want to coach with me, I come from a loving place.
Absolutely.
But I know also know like I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to lift
No.
you up. So
And that's funny because like we had talked about before. I had done my first 90-day program, my own program, and I had friends and people that I didn't know, and there was a difference of people, but and I said that from the very beginning. I am in this container. I am your coach. I'm not your friend. You can't be your friend in here because if you want my friendship, we do that on the side. Like that's friends,
yeah.
right? And when I call you and say, okay, I need coaching, like I need you to be Tina Brigley, the coach, right now. I do not need you to be my friend. I do not need you to blow sunshine up my ass. I need you to be my coach. Tell me what I need to hear because
Wow.
that is what this is about. But again, you know, you can't speak to everyone all at once. You can speak to one person. And if that one person hears you, that's the person that you should be coaching. That one person that resonates with you that you really, and we had started this podcast off and I held back a lot during the beginning of this podcast. Like when we first started it 25 episodes ago, I would hold myself back. I wouldn't jump in. I would agree just because, and if we were going off topic or we went to something different, I held back because I didn't want to be vulnerable and real.
Yeah.
Well, why?
And one of our listeners, Judy, I love you, girl. She actually said, I wanted to share some feedback about the podcast. I'm like, I love feedback. Yes, tell me. And she's like, you talk way more than Vicky. And I love hearing when Vicky speaks. Not that I don't love hearing when you speak, but Vicky just, doesn't seem to contribute as much. And you laugh all the time, but Vicky doesn't laugh as much as you do. So, it was really great because then Vicky and I, we listened to that and we're like, okay, Vicky, cut me off because I have the gift of gab. But yeah, it's people come into our life for a reason. Even our clients are shining a mirror on us, and you want to make sure that even if they say the saying is you are the sum of five people that you surround yourself with, but when you're a coach and you have like really great clients, I know that I've had clients like you in the past, and I think of Lindsay, who was a reflector just like me. I mean, I got more from being on that coaching call with her because she shined a light on things that just by what she was saying and the things she was coming up with and the things she was bumping up against, I was like, oh, yeah, just like me. It was interesting because I learned from her. It's when your giving becomes receiving. And it's not that
Yes.
we're disempowered or anything like that. I'm not
Oh,
saying that like, oh God, no. Of course I could hold space, but I could also learn from her and the things that she was dealing with. And it helped me look and reflect on my life. And that's what a good coaching relationship is. When you get off the call, feeling more alive and empowered than when you started. And this is why being the buyer is so much more valuable than being the seller, because if we don't really honor our boundaries and who we are, we water ourselves down. It's an inauthentic way of being. And it's
Yep.
not about the money. Um, it's not about, the, yes, you want to exchange the value, but you also want to not leave a coaching call feeling drained, and every week you're like, oh god, I got to talk to that person again. And listen, I'm being straight, like I've coached over 3,000 people. Okay, so I'm not being judgmental. I love everybody. I see their humanity. I also know, like, you can't blame bitter fruit for not being ripe yet. But also, I'm at the phase now after 9 years of coaching. I can't My level of coaching right now is not for everybody. Actually, it's probably for the top 10%,
Yeah.
because most
Yeah.
people, and this is what I say, like, as coaches, as we grow and we develop and we do our spiritual work, when you have so much to give, it's like trying to ram 1,000 watts of energy into a 50-watt bulb. People can't handle what
Mhm.
you have to give them. Some
That's
days
right.
I can tell with certain clients, I'm like, oh boy, I just fire hosed them to the mouth. I gave them so much that they didn't even know what the hell to do with it all. They're like, that is a lot, you know? And so, but if you work with people that are kind of at that level, then you never feel like you have to hold yourself back. They're ready to receive the
Yeah.
1,000 watts of light because they have, a 900-watt bulb. So they're not
Yeah.
like bursting.
That.
And this
Yeah.
is really extremely important. And this is the other thing that I want to say for those of you that are growing online businesses. When you are aligned with um, your purpose, and your content is coming from the authentic version of you, not the watered down version, the real, the raw, most people will be repelled by it, but your people will come out of hiding. They will
Yeah.
come to the surface. They will show up, and that's how you create your community. They will come forward and they'll say, hallelujah, finally somebody's speaking the truth. Oh my gosh, this is what I was thinking. I call it the
Mhm.
Mandy effect.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're when you're online and you're sharing your message, and it's the same message, you're hitting the same pain point. The reason why I call it the Mandy effect is because my first coach, Mandy Perry, I love you, oh my gosh, she's such a soul sister, but she would speak, and I honestly felt she was speaking directly to me every time
Mhm.
she opened her mouth. I
Yeah.
felt like I was the only one online. It was like her job was to talk to Tina Brigley every single day, and every day I felt, Mandy, you're talking to me. Yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. To the point I reached out to her and said, I need to have a call with you. And this is what happens online when you're consistent, when you authentically show up as yourself, having the courage to be disliked, having the courage to rock the boat,
Mhm.
always coming from a place of love and not judgment.
Yeah.
But then your people will say, I just feel like you get me. I need to
Yeah.
have a conversation.
Yeah.
So, and then it becomes, it's not a sales
Mm-mm.
conversation, it's a human connection conversation. And then it's a, do you want some help with that? And do you want my help with that? And why me? Why do you
Yeah.
think I would be a good guide? Now, all of a sudden, we're putting it back on them again of like, what do you see in me as your guide? Now, let me listen for your answers. Let's see if that's alignment. Let's see if why you want to work with me is what I can actually provide for you. Then it's
Because we're
easy.
doing a disservice if we aren't listening and we're not aligning. That's a complete disservice. Someone's going to pay us money to coach them and we have no idea because we're not in the same place. Doesn't make any sense. You're not
No.
going to go and buy a Cadillac at a, I don't know, Honda dealership, right? You're going to go where you're going to buy, like, right? So same with hair. I did hair for 30 some years, and my clients that I attracted were my clients. They attracted to me. I attracted to them. We knew more about each other's lives than most people ever know about each other's lives. That is the way it works. it's an attraction. It's like, again, a magnet. We get together for a reason. And if I am not the person for you, I know somebody that is.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to recommend. Like, listen, I'm not
Oh,
a coach for you. I can't.
mhm.
So many people hop on a call with me, and I said, listen, where you're at right now, I can't actually help you. But what I can do is like with a partnership program. But what I can do is I have a community of free resources. I have other coaches that I think can help you with this. You know, when people talk about chakras and all of that spiritual, like
Yeah,
I'm not really, that's not my area of expertise. I have
exactly.
a real block with this area. I'm like, you know, that's not me. Like, I wish it was. I wish I could
Yeah,
help you, but I'm going to be real about what I can do and what I can't do, how I can guide you. And I'm not going to pretend, oh, yeah, I'm going to help you block your chakras when I don't know a lot about chakras and healing
no,
energy. And I don't know anything about that, you know? Like,
not enough to be an expert in, for sure, right? And that's what I say. I enjoy learning about things, but again, I can learn doesn't mean I'm an expert.
yeah.
And what I am an expert in, that's what I can help you with.
Oh, that could be another conversation for another podcast
Mhm.
episode because I meet a lot of people that are, you know, they're saying that, you know, I help CEOs do like grow their business or senior leaders. But I'm like, oh, okay. So tell me about your experience being a senior leader. What they're like, oh, well, I don't. I'm like, well, why do you work with those people? Oh, because I know that they're the ones that are buying coaching. I'm like, oh, honey, no, no, no. It doesn't
No,
work that way.
no, it
If
doesn't work that
you're
way.
not an expert in something, if you haven't mastered something, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to help this person because that's where the money is. No, back in the day, you could probably get away with, you could probably create a few clients like that. You could
Yeah,
probably throw your hat in the ring and maybe somebody would pick it up because back in the day you couldn't get free information. If you had a problem and you needed a solution, you had to go buy the solution. We didn't have AI, we didn't have Chat GPT, we didn't have people doing all of these free workshops and webinars. No, the only way you got help was you invested in a solution, you bought a program, period.
yeah,
Now you have a problem, you can go find free shit everywhere. Like
everywhere.
you so now for people to say, you know, oh, well, I can just kind of do this, or yeah, I think I have a little bit of experience. No, because there's 1,000 people like you with way more credibility. And
Hmm.
I'm sorry. And I know it kind of sucks because people are like, well, my people, somebody will value what I have to offer. Yeah, but you need to prove credibility now. There is a big discrepancy between the dabblers and the credible business owners. People don't like when I say this, but it's true. If you don't bring expertise to the table, people are going to find somebody who does.
Yeah.
That's why I say, what's your expertise? Who do you know? Who can you help? What work have you done? Oh, well, nothing really. I'm like, the question I ask people, have you ever invested in coaching? I'm going to say 50% of coaches that I talk to say, well, no, I've never had a coach. I'm like, excuse me? Like, okay,
Yeah.
wait. I'm going to ask this question. Like, you're a coach. You mean to tell me you've never had a coach before? No. You've never invested in yourself before? No. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, where do I begin?
Right.
You know, like,
Right.
how can you have to buy into the coaching process more than your clients. If you've never experienced powerful coaching, how can you give that? You can't. You can't give it
No,
away.
no, you can't. You
And people are like,
can't.
no, I disagree. I'm like, I don't care if you agree or disagree. I really don't. But it is the truth. If you're not willing to invest in your own development, how can you coach somebody else when you don't know what the coaching process looks like? It doesn't work that way.
Mm-mm.
Well, I disagree. I don't think so. I think you can. And I'm like, okay, good luck. Let
Good
me know
luck.
how it works for you. Now,
And
guys, this is not a judgment, okay? This is seriously not a
yeah,
judgment. It's just we have to start having these real conversations. And I know we started about being a buyer, not a seller. You can probably hear in my language, any coaches that are listening that are dabbling will be repelled. They'll be like, she's a judgmental bitch. Like, I can't even believe that. I've listened to her podcast. But those people that are like, oh shit, that is me, And maybe I need to be real. And maybe this is why I'm not getting, because I'm not actually seeing the truth for what it is. And maybe I need to go invest in a coach, and maybe I need to do these things that will already, and we talked about stages of
Yeah.
desire.
Yeah.
That is the second stage of desire right there, like making that commitment, investing in yourself, not dabbling in free shit. Like you can't do that anymore. Not
No.
anymore.
No. No, absolutely not. And I know we've seen it. We've seen this happen numerous times, hundreds of times, where people do, they want to show up. And I get it. From the heart, it's a great concept. It is, because we all want to help people. And when I first started doing this, I said to you, I don't know if I can. You said, why wouldn't you be able to? You've got, like, what is your expertise? Like, you have this.
Yeah.
That gave me the courage, not just I had the desire, but then the courage, and then taking the action is, it's empowering. And you may get no's, and that's okay. But you know what? I choose to be the buyer in my relationships because I want to know what you're about first.
Yeah.
Who are you? What are you about? How can I help you?
Yeah.
That's it. Simple.
And that's how we find our tribe. That's how we find our community. That's how we find
That's
our
right.
people, showing up authentically you. Because anything less is an inauthentic way of being. And when we're being inauthentic, people lie, energy doesn't.
No,
People can
that's right.
feel, oh my gosh, people can feel when you're full of shit. If you think, okay, I'm really insecure, I'm self-doubting, I felt all of this stuff, and you're like, but nobody else can see that. It's going on inside, but nobody else can see it. No, they can feel it.
Yeah.
They can feel it. And
Yes,
that's
they can.
why if we are coaches, consultants, service providers, we're people that are taking a stand for something bigger than ourselves, we have to be willing to shift our energy. We have to be willing to do whatever it takes to build our competence, build our confidence, show up authentically. The best thing to combat inauthenticity, like if you're feeling scared and you hop on, you're doing a Facebook Live and you're like, oh my God, I'm scared. Some people say fake it till you make it. It's like, imagine if
Mm-mm.
you walked on and said, I think you did this. Hey guys, this is my very first Facebook Live. And I got to be honest with you, I'm like terrified right now. I feel like, oh my gosh, people respect that. They appreciate it. They are like, oh my gosh, you go, girl.
Yeah.
When you call it forward energetically now, oh, she's scared. Oh, I can tell she's scared. Oh, her words are aligned with that. And I respect that. Now imagine you're scared shitless and you're like, hey guys, I'm just here and I'm doing my first Facebook Live and you better get your shit together because people are like, really?
Right?
Really? I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying, but I feel like something else is going on over there. Listen, I get it. We're all where we are, and we get to practice being and calling it forward. And people say I'm authentic to a fault because I will be the first one to shine a light on my ship. But the only reason why I do that is because I want other people to give themselves permission to do that. Because the only difference between an inauthentic person and an authentic person is an authentic person is aware of when they're being inauthentic and
That's
they're okay
right.
to call it forward.
Yeah.
And I know we just squirreled. We're good at that, but
But you
um,
know what? Honestly, it all comes back to the same thing. And I really believe that the message is be real and be true to who you are, be authentic, know who you are. If you're a coach, a consultant in any service industry and you're looking for clients, if you haven't had the experience, if you haven't taken it on yourself, people know. People will feel it, people will see it. So when you go out there and you show up who you are with your imperfections and your whatever it is, it's okay. Be who you are.
and
Be
build
authentic, and
build
then
your
build from there.
credibility.
That's
Put
right.
yourself out there. Get
That's
on
right.
podcasts.
Yep.
Create content. Give value. I don't care if you're new. those things that you do build your credibility, put you out there.
Yeah,
Everybody starts with nothing.
that's
Everybody
right.
starts as a newbie. We're not saying that, like,
Mhm.
oh, people are going to see that you're faking it till you make it. No, we're not saying that. Start where you're at, but be real with where you're at. Be authentic about where you're at. Keep adding value. Keep being a seller, a buyer, not a seller, even though you're brand new. Honor who you are. Show up with that integrity of, like, yeah, I'm perfect, whole and complete, and imperfect at the same time,
Yeah,
all of that stuff. And that's how you're going to attract your people. You only have to be two steps ahead. um that's it. You only have to be two steps ahead to make a difference. So
love it.
I think that's all we got
And
to
on
say.
that, I say we call this episode complete. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed something and got a couple of little nuggets out of our podcast today. And we will see you again the next time on The Art of Being Unstoppable. Bye, everyone. Well, friends, that is the end of our episode today. If you love this episode, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And please share us with your friends and tag us on your socials at The Art of Being Unstoppable. So for today, have yourself a beautiful day and let's be unstoppable together. See you next time.